Shall we start, sir?
Yes, definitely.
Uh, Good morning, everyone. I heartily welcome all of you in the Langlitz online lecture series, Day 12. At the outset, we, the team of Langlit, need to thank all the participants who have joined with us by logging Zoom app regularly and those who are watching, enjoying, and learning with us live on Facebook and YouTube channel Langlitz Educators. Thank you very much for your love, words of appreciations, blessings, and academic support. We have been receiving overwhelming response from all over India and abroad. Nationally and internationally acclaimed academicians are going to deliver their talks on various aspects of language and literature on the forthcoming days. In addition to that, it's not the end of lecture series. It's just a new beginning. We will arrange such a lecture series every now and then. We will try our best to invite well-known academicians during this lockdown period. We are giving unique, there are certain instructions for the participants. We are giving unique certificate to each and every participant, but participants need to fill the Google form and send their Zoom participation screenshot or YouTube channel Langlit Educators subscription screenshot where you have watched all these videos, and you need to send it to the email ID elanglit@gmail.com. Our designer is working on the certificate. Very soon you will receive the Google Form link. Many people are asking me, kindly you give us the link and automatically the certificate will get it generated. But we are not generating certificates by Google Forms. We are working on the certificates manually. That's why it takes time and our designer is working on it. You need to approach me through mail or my mobile number uh, after 7th of May. You can also visit the website www.langlit.org. Kindly keep in touch. Don't forget to subscribe the channel so that you will get further notifications of the forthcoming lectures. So let's share and grow together. Friends, today we have with us a well-known nationally acclaimed academician, Dr. Kamalakar Bhat, sir. He is an associate professor at the postgraduate department of English of Ahmednagar College, Ahmednagar. He is a bilingual writer and a translator between Kannada, English, Hindi, and Marathi. His publication include three collection of poems in Kannada and a collection of translation of the iconic Marathi Dalit poet Namdev Dasa's poems. He has edited the Kannada section of the online multilingual literary magazine uh, indiatree.com. His academic work is in the field of literary theory, Indian literariness, and comparative literature. He has published over 25 research articles in the reputed national and international journals. He is the editor of the book The Word in the World, published by Manipal University Press, and his translation, essays, and reviews have appeared in Indian literature, Muse India, The Wired, Kitab.org, then South Asian literature, among others. Dr. Kamalakar Bhat has served as a member of the Board of Studies in English of Symbiosis College, Pune, and presently he is the BOS in English of Autonomous College, and my college as well, Ferguson College. He is the former vice principal and coordinator of IQAC of Ahmednagar College, Ahmednagar. So, without further delay, it's my honor and proud privilege to invite Dr. Kamalakar Bhat sir to deliver his talk on actor network theory and literary studies. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Dr. Prashant Mote. At the outset, I'd like to welcome all the Langlet educators, subscribers, and whoever has joined this Zoom meeting. I also want to make a note of my gratefulness to Dr. Prashant Mote for initiating this Zoom lecture series, because not only because today I'm participating here as a panelist, but I have listened to some of the other lectures which have been broadcast on YouTube, and at a time when we have been constrained to be inside our houses, it has enabled us to share our ideas and converse with each other, though remotely. With that note of gratitude to Dr. Prashant Mote and his team of Langlet, I would like to start my session, which, as Dr. Mote said, is actor network theory and literary studies. Now, what am I going to discuss about actor network theory? Primarily, my attempt here is to explore how the strategies of actor network theory can enhance our reading practices in literary studies. The session we have three parts. In the first, I will try to describe some of the major ideas and concepts emanating from actor network theory. Secondly, I will try to describe some possible ways of adopting the strategies of actor network theory in literary studies. And thirdly, I will offer maybe one or two readings of short lyrics from an actor network theory perspective, one may say. That is, if time permits me to do all this. Otherwise, of course, we can converse about the leftover components during question and A. Now, friends, in literary studies, we are all familiar with the mode of criticism that has come to be known as critique. Let me put in some disclaimers at the outset. I am, of course, speaking in the context of literary studies as practiced within English academia in India. Secondly, I am going to freely move between social sciences, humanities, and literary studies, though, of course, it is important to maintain certain careful distinctions when we are talking about this, but I will seek your indulgence for the sake of brevity to not mark all the distinctions during this session. Now, coming back to this word critique that I mentioned, of course, I must also clarify that I'm using the term critic because it has very significant connotations. I'm using the word critique in the sense in which the post-critique, let us say, perspectives use it, referring to a particular practice of analytical method, let us say. And that is how, in fact, actor network theory also mounts its engagement, its negotiation with what has come to be called as critique. Now, although in India, we inhabit several temporalities at the same time and freely use diverse protocols of reading literary text, and within academia at least, the dominant way of reading texts for in the last maybe couple of decades has been what is called as critic. And this involves a diverse range of um, reading practices, um, uh, very different methods of reading are grouped under the rubric of critic. Chief among them are symptomatic reading. You all would be familiar with these terms. Still, let me, for the sake of clarity, mention here that when we say symptomatic reading, we are talking about how this mode of criticism approaches a text as being merely a symptom of a phenomena which the empirical dimension of the text itself doesn't really reveal. And because the text is merely a symptom of the real phenomena, the critic is supposed to read between the lines and to go beyond the surface, the manifest content of the text, and to unravel, to reveal the latent content of it, especially in relation to ideology, and therefore it's also sometimes called as ideology critic. It deploys various techniques of scanning texts for signs of transgression, signs of resistance, etc. Together, critique is an attitude of vigilance, of detachment, of suspicion in the field of, let us say, literary criticism for our immediate purposes. And Paul de Man, in fact, famously called this as hermeneutics of suspicion. Suspicion being, or this skepticism about the content of the text being a major component of the approach to text that critique brings in. Suspicion or skepticism about the distinction between what it says and what what it on the surface says and what it really intends. It's a hidden intention, so to say. To use Rita Felsky's way of describing this, critique presents the literary critic as the heroic detective seeking out meaning inaccessible to authors, as it were, as well as ordinary readers, and expose the text's complicity in social conditions that the text seeks to deny or hide. Now, critique, of course, as a practice has many strengths, and we have seen in the last couple of decades, or perhaps more than a couple of decades, how its intimate reading, its close reading practices, its attention to the broader context, its perception of the invisible, its progressive intent, and so on, have thrown up many interesting ways of explicating texts and their so-called unconscious. So we have enjoyed in the last several decades many excellent instances of critique as providing us perspectives that that are otherwise not available. Now, yet from around 1990s and picking up more and more as 1990s rolled on to the new millennium, there has been a certain rising dissatisfaction with this mode of engagement, both in the social sciences, social inquiry, as well as in consequently in literary inquiry as well. And why has there been such dissatisfaction about this otherwise, how shall we put it, a bright and excellent form of literary explication. Well, I will mention a few and then we will move on. Critique. Now, let me also mention here, why am I talking about this one particular mode of social inquiry or literary inquiry, is because in our academia, it is presently the most dominant, well, even today, it is perhaps the most dominant form of doing academics. And that is the reason why this particular mode is what I'm discussing in the context of the alternatives available. Now, the dissatisfaction with critique has a lot to do with its what Felsky has called as its againstness, or a certain kind of negativity, which is part of its its protocol. One may say it's a contesting attitude of that is all the time looking for something to blame, as it were. And also that it leads the reader towards a non-empathetic practice of reading. I mean, it kind of practices a certain exclusive ways of engaging with text, engaging with phenomena, which are intolerant towards forms of engagement, forms of reading that are not critical, that are not skeptical, that are not attached to the latent content, etc. It also very often leaves aside the commonsensical engagement with text, many of which are also joyful ones. And and as a result of all this, critique has come to be seen by a lot of lot of people with a certain amount of dissatisfaction for its egoistic attitude towards the text or stance towards the text. It's excessively, or rather exclusively, intellectual attachment and a kind of negative attachment, which I would call as a kind of a practice of disenchantment. And its refusal to engage with what its critics, its object of study, with any kind of attachment, with any kind of empathy, etc. Now, one of the reservations Bruno Latour has about critique, and I quote here, political discourse cannot serve as a meta language into which everything can be translated. The task is to account for as many actors as possible, to be specific about forms of causation and connection, instead of hitching a free ride on a pre-existing theoretical vocabulary. The familiar isms waiting eagerly in the wings, all too ready to take on a starring role. Latour is certainly impatient with a hermeneutic approach that brags about the interpretative ingenuity of human subject vis-a-vis the mute and inert world which it is engaged in critiquing, engaged in analyzing as such, or interpreting. In his influential 2004 article, Why Has Critique Run Out of Steam?, Bruno Latour diagnoses that the progressive critical thinking or critique is in fact not helping much to resist and find alternatives to the worrisome state our world finds itself in today. But he feels that it actually might be more responsible for the state we find ourselves, the post-truth state we find ourselves in today, than we, the progressive critical thinkers, might want to acknowledge. So against this background, of the dominant method of social inquiry or literary inquiry available to us in the form of critique, what alternatives to this kind of a literary analysis or to this literary studies, this skeptical approach to text are available. Literary criticism, in fact, has taken proceeded in many directions in the post-critical environment. Apart from new materialism, of which actor network theory is a part, there are new formalism, distant reading, digital humanities, media studies, etc. Helen Small, in her book, The Value of Humanities, says the work of the humanities is frequently descriptive or appreciative or imaginative or provocative or speculative more than it is critical. I think one such method or strategy is available in actor network theory. And my attempt is not really to offer solutions to problems as such. My attempt in this session is to suggest the possibility of using actor network or including actor network theory strategies as part of our modes of inquiry. Actor network theory, sometimes shortened to its acronym ANT, is associated with the work of Bruno Latour, Michel Callan, and John Law, among others, which started in 1980s in the Center for Studies of Innovation in Paris, in science and technology studies. In fact, it was in 1994 that Bruno Latour, or 1991, that Bruno Latour published a book called We Have Never Been Modern, which is perhaps one of the earliest of his works that caught the attention of the humanities students and scholars. And especially after the publication in 2004 of his essay, Why Has Critique Run Out of Steam? Humanities began to approach Bruno Latour with greater interest. And this has been a very, very interesting essay in which he really mounts, he raises a lot of questions about not only the methods of critique, but more importantly, the effects of critique in our society and in the kind of situation we find ourselves in. The larger philosophical point of Latour in his various works, in 2005, he published a kind of a handbook for actor network theory called as Reassembling the Social. But after that, he undertook several projects, several ambitious projects, including an AIME, an inquiry into modes of existence, which was in the second decade of this 21st century, and also his manifesto of compositionism. But in this session, of course, I will not be able to discuss in very many details all his philosophical arguments, but I will only pick up a few ideas, not necessarily his most important ideas, but the ones that will help us to work out some ways of doing analysis of literary texts. Now, one of the important or philosophical points of Latour is to reject the divisions of subject and object, as well as nature, culture, material, and semantic, and thought and matter and etc. Actor network theory doesn't assume or normalize the tendency to view humans as having agency and all the rest as mere objects of that agency. Latour's work presumes the equal ontological status of all classes of beings in a mutually composed world. Actor network theory especially calls our attention to the codependence of human and non-human in any scenario, any action, event, phenomenon. Humans are seen as actors in networks or assemblages with other non-human actors, which can be technologies, animals, objects, things, social or political systems. Now, these various actors have specific capacities, called sometimes as affordances, which collectively make or not make particular things possible. Actor network theory maintains that an action is engendered not only through the intending human consciousness or unconscious effort, but through participation from non-human entities, though not necessarily as intending agents. Actor network theory doesn't prioritize the intending agent over all the rest. The conscious agent as the sole cause of an action. This is something that actor network theory tries to avoid. And it tries to give credence and include in our description of any event, of any phenomena, include in the description of any phenomena, the affordances of all participants, called actants in the parlance of actor network theory, instead of the actor, because we tend to associate the word actor with human beings. So they tend to use the word actant. One of the words they use is actant. Hence, an action is a result of mediation by an assemblage of actors, by a network of actors. Therefore, actor network theory. It may be human actors, maybe objects, things, animals, elements, technology, concepts, so on and so forth. In this sense, the space of the social, the space of action, hence also the space of text, the space of narrative, are occupied not just by human actors, but include non-humans as well. The actor in actor network theory is loaded with assumptions about, it is not loaded with assumptions about intention, consciousness, or autonomy. The actor or the actant designates any and all phenomena whose existence makes a contribution to a particular event, to a particular action. So the actants exist not in themselves, but through their networks of association, through their contribution in the assemblage. So actants denote both human and non-human actors, and in a network take the shape that they do by virtue of their relations with one another. Actor network theory is thus a matter of tracing out the paths by which entities of all kinds are constituted by their relations. Agency is composite here. Actor network theory also steers away from monocausal explanations. In other words, single explanations as definitive, located definitively in a single subject as such. Actor network theory challenges the characterization of the material world as inert, and through this reconceptualization challenges the traditional subject and object distinction. And this is something that actor network theory has in common with new materials. If we read, people like Jane Bennett, for example, we see Jane Bennett, for example, in her book, just a second, in her book, Vibrant Matters, Political Ecology of Things, she also develops some ideas which are parallel to the ideas that we have been associating with actor network theory. This approach, actor network theory's approach, of course, I must also mention here that to a large extent, I am only referring to ideas put forward by Bruno Latour, and have not brought into this discussion other theorists of actor network theory field. This approach, which challenges the traditional subject-object distinction, decenters the subject so that rather than human beings, actors contribute to the ways meaning about the world is constructed. Humans are seen as just one more participant in networks or assemblages along with non-human actors, which can be technologies, animals, as I said earlier, political systems, objects, social or political systems, so on and so forth. These various actors have specific capacities, and they collectively make particular things possible or not possible. In short, actor network theory brings a new understanding of the social and as assemblages or networks. Actor network theory doesn't view society or the space of the social as something that is already there. It sees it as something that is always in the making and something that involves all the contributors to its making. Therefore, it views these assemblages as consisting of diverse actors. When we put aside our preoccupation with the intending cause or conscious agent, then we will be able to notice in a phenomena diverse contributors. That phenomena can have diverse contributors. Take, for example, this very Zoom meeting. I'm not even referring to the digital technology here. While I'm engaged in this conversation with all of you, I'm wearing this spectacle. If I remove this spectacle, it will impair the way I'm able to converse with you. To that extent, for this particular phenomena of the Zoom conversation, for this Zoom meeting to take place, it is not only the so-called speaker, I or other participants here who are engaged in this Zoom meeting. This Zoom meeting is not only amongst those of us human beings who are engaged here. There are many non-human participants that are facilitating this, and it is in this manner that actor network theory tries to kind of expand the space of the social, tries to expand what is understood by the network as contributors to any action. Now, how do we make use of these or other ideas of actor network theory about what constitutes the social, so to say, work for us in literary studies? Latour, in fact, suggests that rather than interpretation, we must be more concerned with description and composition. This is something we can carry into literary studies, I feel. Of course, more work needs to be done here. It is, this particular field of actor network theory as a mode of engaging with literary text is still developing. Some of the points that actor network theory helps us to, some of the points made by Bruno Latour and actor network theory that helps us in engaging in literary analysis are that Latour, in fact, says that renewal of criticality and critical thinking must emerge as constructive. Or in other words, he is very much canvassing for a positive way of engaging with any kind of inquiry, rather than pointing out the problems in a phenomena, rather than pointing out that this is what is wrong with it. And we do that, I mean, critique, in fact, spends a lot of space on bringing out the problems, in revealing the problems. Latour's complaint is that, critique doesn't give adequate attention to the solutions. I'm, of course, putting it in a very commonsensical terminology here. So he is of the opinion that critique needs to throw up new methodological tools for doing this, for engaging in a kind of a positive engagement with any kind of inquiry, social inquiry or any kind of inquiry, but the kind of things that we in social science and humanities do. And he suggests, as I said, compositionism. Critical thinking has to relearn, Latour says, and maybe it has to learn for the very first time that being committed to what it is to being committed to making a difference. The critic is not one who debunks, but the one who assembles. The critic is not the one who lifts the rug from under the feet of naive believers, but the one who offers the participants arenas in which to gather. The critic is the one for whom, if something is constructed, that is, let's say the text, then it means it is fragile and thus in need of great care and caution. And thus, Latour proposes a compositionist way of going about, social or textual inquiry. The idea of composition, in contrast to critique, speaks to the possibility of trying to compose a common world. And as Rita Felsky, in fact, points out, it's about making rather than unmaking, adding rather than subtracting, and translating rather than separating. Latour writes, it is time to compose in all the meanings of the word, including to compose with, to compromise, to care, to move slowly, with caution and precaution. So, in using Latour's ideas for the purposes of literary studies, we may notice the emphasis on expanding the space of the social, agency, and action. Latour leads us to imagine the critical activity as one of description and composition. Now, in order to turn to the third part of this session, Let me start with William Connolly, who says, defining agency as distributive across a very wide spectrum of life forms, including the inanimate ensembles woven into our everyday routines. Now, very quickly, because there isn't much time left, I want to offer a reading of maybe one lyric to indicate the possibility of doing literary analysis using actor network theory. Of course, this is a very preliminary and simplistic level of such an analysis, but this is only indicative. For which purpose, I would like to draw your attention to this poem, Stopping by Woods by Robert Frost. Stopping by Woods on a Snowy Evening by Robert Frost. And I'm assuming here that many of us remember this lyric, and therefore I will kind of go to the discussion very quickly to save time. Just a second, I seem to have, yeah. Now, by one account, by one very popular account of this lyric, the primary theme of the poem is duty before beauty. In as far as this theme is concerned, my discussion is going to focus on this, and of course we can do it with whichever other theme we would like to focus on. But let me take up this theme as the focus for this brief discussion. Now, when we take duty before beauty as the theme of Robert Frost's poem, Stopping by Woods on a Snowy Evening, what are the operative thematic elements in this? Let me mention them. Beauty, as far as beauty is concerned, the operative elements are, that is to say, the idea of beauty is, kind of contributed by elements such as woods, time of the year and day, which is the reason why there is such a beauty, which is holding this speaker, arresting the speaker in that particular place as such. The colors, these are all the elements, these are all the quote unquote actors, so to say, contributing to the phenomena of beauty. When we turn to the element of duty, it is actually in the poem, duty is associated with the horse and its bells. The horse, by ringing its bell, is the one which is reminding the speaker that there is duty to attend to. And another operative element which contributes to this theme is time, and the time in this poem is associated with snowfall and the dark woods. Then another element is colors, which contributes to the beauty associated with snow, trees, and another element is rest, which is associated with farmhouse. Now, it is important to notice here that speaker in this poem is only the intending actant. The agentive actants, we can make a distinction here between intending actant and the agentive actant, or the operative actants. The operative actants, as far as the phenomena of duty before beauty theme is concerned, are really these five that I have described. So in this very brief discussion, I have tried to call attention to the possibilities of using some of the insights from actor network theory in our approach to literary analysis. That, Dr. Prashant, is my presentation to you. Now I would like to hand over to Dr. Prashant.
Kindly ask your questions in Q&A. There is one question and words of appreciation by Dr. LG Patil sir. Yes, sir.
Hello.
Yes, sir.
Hello, sir.
Hello, Kamalakar sir. Thank you very much for exposing and revealing this theory, which would help the teachers to unravel the different phenomena taking place in our life, as well as while interpreting the texts and the actors and the influences on the characters. I would like to ask a question, or say would like to have explanation from you. How
Yes, sir.
would you correlate this with phenomenology and contextualization and similar other theories coming up after, say, 1890s onwards with actor network theory?
Patil sir, thank you very much for the question. I will not pretend that I will be able to give you a very in-depth answer right now, but to give you an immediate response, the phenomenological approach doesn't really incorporate this distinction that has been, what Latour would say from 1600 onwards. Ever since we have become quote unquote modern, we have been maintaining this distinction between the subject and the object, and the manner in which phenomenology goes about it and the manner in which actor network theory goes about it is slightly different. And one measure of that difference is that actor network theory, in fact, pluralizes the participants in any phenomenon. It in fact insists upon describing as many contributors to their affordances, what they call as affordances, their capacities for contribution, as possible. And I think that is a beginning. Maybe more detailed kind of a distinction is possible to make, but this is an immediate distinction I can point to.
Yeah, I see. Thank you, sir. And what about contextualization? Of course, everything is contextualized.
True. Like I said earlier, the novelty of actor network theory is in understanding the context in a much more active manner than has been done in earlier approaches. While context is something that, for example, in the mode of inquiry of critique, context is something that the critique reveals, brings forward. Context is seen as the one that is the hidden component. But the actor network theory doesn't look at it that way. Actor network theory looks at even context, for that matter, as a participant in the action.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you,
sir. Sir, there is another question. How does actor network theory reflect the preoccupations of French post-structuralism?
In fact, Bruno Latour himself belongs to the French school of thought. In fact, he's a very interesting thinker, but I'm not saying that actor network theory has only French thinkers. It definitely is a reaction to some of the modes of inquiry associated with post-structuralism. Actor network theory and some of the other post-critical phenomena, which also have emerged in, some of these have emerged in Europe, and in fact, they have a greater, affinities with science and technology studies and empirical studies. In fact, the manner in which actor network theory goes about description is very interesting, because it's somewhat like our, cultural anthropologists' method of thick description. So, in as far as post-structuralism is concerned, or post-structuralist modes of inquiry is concerned, actor network theory is in fact trying to, react to the post-structuralist methods and trying to, point to some of the gaps, as it were, in that mode of inquiry, and suggest ways of other ways of doing, alternative ways of doing things than the post-structuralist modes of inquiry that have dominated the social sciences and humanities in the last few decades.
Sir, kindly suggest literature on actor network theory.
Yeah, I'm going to share a very brief, let me share a very brief yeah, this is it. This is one of the books that I mentioned. We have never been modern, but this is a brief bibliography for a quick reference to actor network theory, for a quick understanding of actor network theory. I think Lator's Reassembling the Social, an introduction to actor network theory, published by Oxford University Press, published in 2005, that would be very, very, useful. But if people are interested in his other works, an inquiry into modes of existence, this is a very, very major and a very ambitious project that he undertook. And this is something that Bruno Latour hasn't really commented on literature extensively, but this is one of the works in which, literary inquiry also, or literary objects also become part of his analysis. He also has, although in my bibliography, it is not mentioned, he also has an essay called as a manifesto of a compositionist manifesto, which is another resource which will be useful to students of literature in understanding actor network theory.
Hello, sir. Hello.
Yes.
Prashant. Sir, I think there is a question about whether this theory can be used in the study of films asked by someone. I have forgotten the name. It's not visible on the screen.
Yes, it can be. In fact, actor network theory is used in a wide range of inquiries. Starting with metro systems. He has a book on that. To various scientific laboratories and also literary texts and films, so on and so forth. Actor network theory is a mode of inquiry which does accommodate various kinds of inquiries or various objects of inquiry, let me put it this way. We need to find ways of doing that.
Hello.
Yes.
Hello. Yes, sir.
Hello. Hello,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
I think my observation is, I think these theories, new theories coming up, these theories can be applied to all the arts, particularly fine arts. I don't know what is your opinion about it. Not only film or not only literature, but other arts also can be studied from these different perspectives. What is your opinion?
Yeah, I agree with you, sir. I agree with you that
thank you, sir.
In as far as actor network theory may be called as a method, or in as far as it can be called as a strategy, it definitely, like the post-structuralist methods and strategies, actor network theory also is useful in our,
other studies.
Study of a wide variety of phenomena, not only in humanities, such as in art and other fields, but also in what we call as science studies, social science, society, social science, cultural phenomena, as well as. So therefore, actor network theory and new materialism are all also very much a part of what we call as cultural studies as well. So definitely, I agree with you, sir.
I think this will help us to understand our own life in a better possible way. It will give an additional advantage to the study of.
Yes, in much greater detail, I would say.
Yes, I see. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
It is wonderful interaction. Yeah. Thank you, sir. Thank you very
Thank you
much.
so much for joining, sir.
Prashant,
Thank you.
over to
Yes,
Prashant.
thank you very much, Dr. Yes, yes. Thank you very much, Dr. Kamalakar Bhat, sir, for your fruitful, well-studied, highly informative and insightful session. With your lucid language, you clearly explained about a new domain, actor network theory and literary studies. Thank you very much, one and all, for your active participation by logging Zoom and those who are watching on YouTube channel and made this lecture series a grand success. Kindly keep in touch. Don't forget to subscribe the channel so that you will get further notifications about the lecture. Kindly log in at 1 p.m. for another interesting session. Thank you very much, one and all.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.